cameras on?
No, you're fine just like that. That's great. So we're now live on Facebook, I hope, in the group. I can't actually see if it works. So if anyone is listening on Facebook, do say a little hello, and I will see if I can see you. If I can't see the comments, I'll definitely come back at the end and respond there. So you're very welcome as well. Hello to everybody here. Lovely to see everybody. It's great to be back in the swing of things of a Tuesday Zoom. So that's brilliant. So this evening we're going to be looking at how to boost your confidence as a leader. So what I would just like you to do, those who are in Zoom, if you wouldn't mind, just to put a quick little introduction in the chat. If I think everybody does know each other, so we don't need to worry about that. And also to say, do you have any particular area of your role where you don't feel confident at the moment? So if there's anything in particular, and then I will try and come back to that later on. Okay. So just to remind everyone in the Zoom that we are now live in Facebook, but everyone's got their cameras off, so hopefully that's okay for everybody there. So what leaders need in 2021? Now, I don't know about you, but there is a flurry of articles at this time of year saying, what we all need for the new year. And those kind of articles, they're very catchy, and I am literally a marketeer's dream because I love them. I pounce on them and I thoroughly enjoy them. So on my Google alert, there came an article this week, and one of which I shared on LinkedIn because I did think it was excellent, talking about the need for leaders to have certain skills, and one of those skills was actually coaching skills, which is something that we really try to develop. Really try to develop in the Blue Bottle Coaching Programme. So that's something if you're interested there. But another one I came across, I'm not exaggerating. This was the list. So it said, leaders need the following mindsets: growth mindset, teamwork, inclusion, global mindset, and the following skills: self-awareness, innovation, communication skills, and coaching skills. So I hope you're getting ready to be absolute superheroes with all of that. And as I was reading that, I thought, well, that in itself is overwhelming. This list is huge. And whilst we do need a lot of those things, I'm not sure it's really that helpful. So I was wondering, well, how can we distill that into something that we can put into practice and that actually could encompass a lot of those things? And that's where I really came up with this idea of focusing on confidence. Because for me, confidence with courage really enables you to do a lot of things, of course. One of them is to be open to change and to embrace failure and to learn. So think back to our growth mindset Zoom that we had back in November. Another one, it enables us to be vulnerable and to truly listen to other people. If we have the confidence to really sit and listen and take on board what other people are saying, this helps obviously communication and empathy, and so that works us into that other area of communication skills. Confidence also enables us to have the capacity to really serve other people. And this idea of servant leadership is one that interests me hugely. It is one that's been around for a long time. Nothing is new about it, but I think there's a lot there, and especially with this renewed focus, particularly at this time, on well-being for our staff. I think this is the time to perhaps revisit that in more detail. Another area that it helps us to do is to make decisions and also to accept responsibility. And of course, that helps with our teams as well. So what is the result of that? So if we start with confidence, if you imagine confidence in the middle and then a spider diagram coming out from that, what could be the result of all those things? Well, I think we come back to our 4 pillars again. So the first one is influence. We can influence if we have confidence and we're able to communicate well with other people. We can inspire other people. We can really enjoy what we're doing, and we can have a great impact as well. So those 4 ideas keep coming back at the heart of it all. So there is a fine line, however, between confidence and arrogance, and it's something that quite a few clients mention to me. They're almost a little bit concerned about developing their confidence because they don't want to look arrogant, and I think that's such a legitimate concern. Nobody likes an arrogant leader. So what is that difference, and how can we deal with that? I think the key is that you can choose what you do with that confidence. So building confidence doesn't necessarily equal arrogance. Building confidence gives you the choice of many directions. So you could choose to be vulnerable and to listen and to consider others, or you could choose to steamroller. So it becomes your choice. With the confidence that you have, you can make those decisions. So how you use it, that's up for you to decide. Another aspect that I want to just mention, because it does again come up quite a lot, is that people sometimes, they tend to say that they're not a confident person. But actually, confidence doesn't always work like that. We can have confidence in some areas and not in others. And it very often happens that people who have been confident in one area, maybe a job that they've done previously, and then when they're promoted into another role that perhaps doesn't use the same skills, of course their level of confidence drops because they're no longer, or they don't feel any longer that they are expert in that area, and maybe they have a lot to learn. So confidence is very much related to the context that you're in, and I think that's important to remember, so that if we do have a bit of a crisis of confidence, we can remember, well, it's normal. When things change, then it's going to be normal that we find things more difficult, and that we have to look at that and maybe work on it in a different way. So what does it look like when we're not feeling confident? I think the first thing that I hear when speaking to people is that people, they might not say it in these words, but often the question is, am I good enough for this? Can I do this? Is this within my capabilities? And people can be very fearful of taking that next step, even though everyone else around them is saying, yes, you can do it. It's yours. This position is made for you. But having that confidence to step into a role that we haven't done before, and that we're fearful perhaps of, what's the unknown? And it's that fear of the unknown which can quite often lead to that lack of confidence. I think also there's another side to that, is that often we get used to living with a lack of confidence, so much so that I think some people don't realise. And the truth is that you don't have to live with that. You don't have to live with a lack of confidence. It is really something that can be, I don't want to say eradicated, because I think that's not always the case. In fact, it's not the case. Again, it depends on the context. But I think for many people, there are things that you can do. There are things that you can do to help yourself to feel more confident with some support. So tonight I have 10 ways for you to try and boost your confidence, and plus at the end I'm hoping I won't forget to show you, but I have a PDF that you can download, and this will give you the 10 ways, just a summary of them, and also some exercises at the end with a coaching approach which you might like to try. So because we won't have time to do all of that tonight. So I have a little quotation for you first. So it's from Joseph's story. Have confidence that if you have done a little thing well, you can do a bigger thing well too. And I'd like you to just keep that in mind. I'm going to read it again. Have confidence that if you have done a little thing well, you can do a bigger thing well too. So let's just take that example, as it's a simple example. But if if you can walk for 30 minutes, for example, then you can walk for 3 hours if you take breaks, maybe, if you take a bottle of water, if you have someone to walk with, if you're a Collins, then if you have some cake or chocolate, that always helps as well. So you can do it if you have the right things in place. And I think with confidence, it's often the same thing. It might be that this big step that we're seeing in front of us, it's just that we haven't got the support in place. So it's often the case that if we can add in those little bits, those bits of support, that little change in mindset, we can do it. It is absolutely possible. The other thing that we need, for example, going back to the walk metaphor, imagine if you don't know where you're walking, 3 hours of walking and you've got no direction, there's no goal. Well, certainly in this house, we don't get very far. We need a goal. We need a reason to go there if we're going to have a long walk. So having that vision, and again, we come back to this, the same thing that I was talking about last week, that power of visualization, of course, it extends into this. So if you haven't yet listened to that podcast that I did last week, do just tune in. If you can't find it on the Facebook feed, you can find it on my podcast as a bonus episode. So having that vision in place is very important for confidence. And you might not have made that link before because it's not always something that's obvious. But if we know where we're going and we can see where it is that we're going, we have that motivation, and the motivation gives us that motor to start and also to continue, and very often the confidence comes with doing it, obviously. So when we're starting small, what we need to do is to find our big strengths. And I'd like you to just think of a time when you've led a project of some kind. It could be anything. It could be something at work. It could be something at home where you've organised something, or something in an association, or anything where you're organising and leading a group of other people. Think of that, and now I want you to analyse why it was successful. So not just the strategy and the vision, but maybe that could be important as well, but which of your strengths did you use in that project? Which of your strengths were vital to the success of that project? So I would like you to write them down. It's very powerful to actually physically write them and to have them to look back at. And now I'd like you to think of your role now, whatever you thought about at the beginning, about something that you're not perhaps feeling confident about. Think about that project, that role, whatever it is, and think, can you use any of those strengths right now? Can you maximize any of those strengths? So, for example, if one of your strengths is that you're great at really motivating other people to get things done, well, that, of course, you can use in many, many other situations. And whether your project is with 2 people or 200 people, the core strength that you have, then you have a great basis. How you do it might be different. You might need to change the how, but in fact, you have what's important. You have that strength. So make a quick list of those and keep that handy, and maybe during this week, maybe come back to that and see if you can add anything else. One of the affirmations that we have with coaching, and particularly NLP, is you have everything you need, or you can learn it. And I'd like you to write that down, because that is so important when we're thinking about strengths. So you might be thinking, well, I've got that, but there's a whole list of other things that I don't have. Well, don't worry, because you have what you need. And if you don't have it, you can learn it. You can develop it. Maybe not overnight, but you can do it. My next idea for you to try to boost your confidence as a leader is to think about the way you look at other leaders. Now, obviously, comparing ourselves is not always very useful. Admiring others is also perhaps not that useful. But analysing them, then we start to really make some progress. So when you think about the leaders that you admire, maybe people you've worked for, maybe people you haven't worked for, but you've heard about them and you know their work, try to analyse what they're doing. What do they do that works? What is it that they do that works? What is it that you like about their style of leadership, about the way they communicate with people? What is their thinking behind their actions? For example, I remember working with a leader who was absolutely amazing, and really behind everything that he did, he had this firm belief. Now, I don't know whether he would articulate it, but thinking back, I think that he thoroughly, absolutely believed that everyone is capable of improving. Now, he was a teacher, so that you'd say, well, that's normal. But he extended that to every single member of staff. Everyone is capable of improving, not in an imposing sense at all, but in a way of encouraging people to take that next step. I remember that I was absolutely hopeless at doing displays when I was teaching 7 and 8-year-olds, and anybody who has been into a primary classroom will know that displays are very, very important. And I really was hopeless, and I had no confidence with them at all. I remember saying to somebody, I don't even know where to start with a display. I've got all this work, I don't know what to do with it. And I remember speaking to this head teacher who said, well, that's no problem. We've got a course on that coming up. I think I've seen it in the book. You can go on that. It'll be fine. I went on the course, came back, started to improve. And I remember he came to my classroom and saw my display, which was a little bit better, but not, it was not sparkling, but it was a little bit better. And he was so pleased and so encouraging. And that this idea that everybody is capable of improving, that encouragement, that a little nudge, but not too much, but just with this idea that everybody can improve, is, for me, was something very, very important. So when you find a belief like that resonates with you, well, it's easy. Just adopt it. Take it for yours. You're not. There's nothing to say that you can't take on someone else's beliefs. Just do it. Make it your own and use it for your work. Another thing that you can do very easily is get reading. There are so many good books about leadership out there. I've already mentioned to you Brené Brown, and she talks particularly about being courageous, having confidence, and I can really recommend her books to you. Try podcasts. Our own podcast is a wonderful resource for getting ideas about how to be more confident, how to pick up those ideas of the beliefs that leaders have. So tune into those, but with a slightly different mindset. Analyse, what is it that they do? What do they believe that makes them confident, that makes them able to inspire confidence in others? Number 7, we're already on number 7, is to stay curious. Now, not just about other people and other leaders, but about yourself. And what I mean by that is really sharpen those self-awareness skills. But we need to be just a little bit careful about that, because notice that this is not self-judgment. We need to be self-aware without judging. Now, that doesn't mean that we say that to ourselves we like everything we do, or that we don't like everything we do, but we just try to notice what's happening. And why? Well, because it's actually just a waste. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of emotional energy to be judging ourselves. If we notice, accept, wonder why that is, what could we do differently? So you self-coach yourself through it and find a good solution. Self-judgment is really the enemy of confidence boosting, and it's not an easy thing to stop doing, but the first step is just noticing when we're doing it and trying to switch from judging to noticing. And it's a very definite switch. Self-judgment is when we're saying, oh, that's hopeless. That I'll never be able to do that. A bit like I was with my displays. That was self-judgment. Instead of me saying, oh yeah, that's something I need to improve, it was all kind of emotional. I'm hopeless. I'll never be able to do that. And then I wasted time. So whereas I probably could have got going with that, well, probably 2 years earlier than I did. So self-awareness rather than self-judgment. So I'd like you to make a resolution, please, to leave self-judgment at the door, because it's not helping you. The next one is your own well-being. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with confidence? Well, yeah, I do accept it's indirect. But nevertheless, with sleep, with exercise, with good nutrition, with having a bit of fun and good social health, which is a term that seems to be becoming more popular, looking after your energy levels, like we've talked about before, is very important. And if we've got those energy levels, then feeling more confident is going to be easier. Number 9 is possibly the one that many of my clients find one of the most challenging, and that is celebrating their successes. And this, I think, is very important for confidence, and it's often at the root of the problem for many people, because we're so used to looking forward, and that's really great. That's what we need to look forward, but we forget to look back at the successes we've had, and we forget to look back to where we've come from, the progress that we've made. And by celebrating those successes, what we're doing is first of all we're integrating those. So we're saying, actually, that's me now. I'm no longer that person that I was. Now I'm really in that role. This is what I have done, and I'm now at a different stage. So that's the first thing. But we're also able to analyze, what was it that got us there? Now, it might not be that those same things are going to get us to the next part, but possibly the same strengths, we can tap into those to move us forward. So celebrating our own successes, and it's something that I'm going to come back to because I think it's a very interesting area and an important one. Finally, enlisting support. Now, obviously, getting support from the people around you, your colleagues, that's all going to help. Getting a mentor early on is going to help in a new role. Asking for help early, asking for people to give advice. Now, obviously, at the moment, it's particularly difficult for people starting in new roles. And this is one of the things that's coming up quite a bit, that when people are new at the moment, they're not getting that informal support that they might get over a cup of coffee at the coffee machine, or just walking from one meeting to the next. So we need to, as leaders, also look out for people that we're perhaps that are in our teams that have perhaps got leadership roles, and make sure that we make sure that they have those networks, that they're able to leverage those networks as well. But also, if you need those networks for support, use them, reach out to people in a very proactive way. Don't leave it until you're feeling that the confidence has been knocked, or that it's not progressing. Of course, getting a leadership coach, of course I'm going to say that, but getting a coach is obviously a fantastic way to get support and to help boost confidence, as well as fine-tuning other areas of your leadership. So having coaching, having a mentor, enlisting support, using your network, all of that is absolutely key. My final point, which is very much related to that, is offering to support other people. Because by offering to support others in your organisation, or even outside of it, for example, there are loads of great mentoring programs where you can mentor young people who need a bit of support with their studies, anything like that. As soon as you start mentoring other people, it forces you to take a step back, to analyse yourself, to analyse what skills that person needs, and in doing so, you're analysing what skills you have, and all of that process helps to boost your own confidence. So that's another very powerful way that certainly in education we see over and over again, that once people become mentors, they step into a different mindset, in fact, and that mindset is really key to their development as a leader. A final thought for you is that, a lot of confidence issues can be mixed up with worrying about what might happen. And I'm just going to come back to that next week, because next week the Zoom is going to be all about resilience and how we can build resilience, which is very close to confidence, obviously. But I'd just like to leave you with Mark Twain's quote, which I really like. So he said, "I have lived a long life and had many troubles, most of which never happened." So I'm going to leave you with that today. And just before we leave the Facebook group, I'd just like to say that there is a summary, a PDF of what I've said today, with a coaching page at the end, where you can talk yourself through some of the broader issues. So you can download this, and I will give you the link. Those on Zoom, I'll give you the link in Zoom. Those on Facebook, I'll put the link in the comments as soon as I've finished on the Zoom. If you know of anyone else who might be interested in that, do just send them the link, and they're very welcome to download it as well. I want to very quickly just give you a bit of forewarning of our next 5-day challenge. And this one, it's a little bit different to the last one. In fact, it's very different to the last one. The last one was on time management, which I loved. And this one is all about leading with courage. It's going to be the 5-day Leading with Courage Masterclass. So that's going to be at the beginning of February. It's coming up. We're just in the middle of the planning right now, trying to put all the elements together. And we've got some great content ready for you. So I'm looking forward to telling you more about that in the next week or so. Okay, we're going to just say goodbye now to the Facebook group. Thank you to everyone on the Facebook group. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you again very soon. To those on Zoom, don't go away. I'll be back just in 1 second, if I can. There. Okay, bye-bye Facebook.